So we're going to talk about testosterone today. I feel like we talk about this a lot, but I keep getting people in who have no idea about what's going on. And this is for men and for women. Uh, so testosterone, I realize that people, the government and the pharmaceutical groups and everything have done a phenomenal job of telling you that testosterone is not natural and that you shouldn't do it, and it's very, very dangerous, and you're all going to die if you ever think about it, which is all lies. Um, Testosterone and bodybuilding steroids are, while testosterone is used a lot in bodybuilding, the ones that are dangerous are totally different. So testosterone is 100% natural. It is what your body is designed to take in for growth, regeneration, healing, and repair. That's why when you, like, for instance, I have a really hard time fixing ulcerative colitis and MS and things like that without increasing testosterone. You want to know one thing that I have seen without a doubt that testosterone has repaired, healed, and regenerated is marriages. The amount of couples who come in, because they always give a discount if husbands and wives will work together. It just makes it so much easier when they're working as a team on a project, because what ends up happening a lot of times is they'll work against each other. But if they're working together as a team, it makes it a whole lot easier for both of them. And the one thing, people will come in, they'll come in like, we've lost all this fat and we've gained this muscle and we have this energy and blah, blah, blah. But the biggest thing is that both of them will come in and say, the biggest thing we've done for our marriage ever was start to get healthier, start taking testosterone. Because as soon as a woman starts taking testosterone, her sex drive comes back. And if there's one thing that fixes a marriage, it's sex. So as soon as she comes in, her sex drive starts coming back up, her energy comes up, the fat starts coming off, and then testosterone helps engorge. So as far as men go, testosterone is one of the best things to do for erectile dysfunction because it helps restore blood flow and nerve function to the penis. Well, the penis and the clitoris are embryonically the same tissue. So when you increase a woman's testosterone, her clitoris engorges and grows back to its original functional size. The sensitivity goes up substantially. And so she starts having better, faster, stronger, quicker orgasms, which makes her enjoy sex more. And guys, here's the key to the whole thing. The whole reason that, men, they talk about penis size and how long they can go and all these different things is, look at it from this standpoint. Why would we care? The whole reason that we care is because it's how much she enjoys it more. Our whole job is to make sure she enjoys the sex more, because that's how all those things happen. Why would we care how long the penis is if it's just for us? Because it's not. The point of this is to make it so that she enjoys it, so that she wants to do it more often. So that's the thing. So as her testosterone comes up and she has orgasms more, and her sex drive actually wakes back up and her energy comes back up, all of a sudden what ends up happening is they go from having sex 2 or 3 times a month to 2 or 3 times a week. And since most men's love language is number one or number two is tied to physical touch, all of a sudden he starts getting his needs met from a love piece or a psychological piece or however you want to look at it. And so he can start feeding into her more. And a lot of women have a take care of you part of them that needs to be filled. And so as the husband starts having more sex and starts feeling better and starts becoming nicer and starts recognizing that he's cared for and loved, and then he starts reciprocating, the marriages just wind together. Like, I've had people who are married for 20 years and they're like, man, the last couple of years have been rough, but all of a sudden it's renewed. It's like we're back in the saddle. It's awesome. So it is wildly important for all aspects of your life. Now, we can go through all the physiology and I can show you how the bone density comes up, because osteoblastic formation is driven by testosterone and testosterone alone. So the osteoblasts are the actual cells that make your bones more dense. They build bone matrix. They respond to testosterone. They say, hey, reach out and grab that calcium, build bone out of it. So that's really what you want to do. You really want to increase the testosterone if you're worried about your bone density. So this weekend we had a wake for my uncle who was in his 80s when he passed away from brain cancer that the vaccine brought on, COVID vaccine brought on. And it was funny to me because we're with all these older people, 70s and 80s, and they're all talking about how tired they are and how I just picked up this thing and tore a ligament, or I rolled over and this broke, or like I had a 2-foot fall and broke my kneecap. Well, if those guys had been on testosterone, a lot of these things would have not happened. These weird, like, I just picked this up, or I fell a very short way and this broke, or I stood up and my leg gave out. A lot of that stuff is not going to happen if you keep track of the chemicals that make your body actually function. Testosterone is one of the most important. So if you guys are getting your levels checked and you're not where you need to be, women between 150 and 250, there's some play in there. You know, some people I have at 100, some people have it 300. You know, there's play. Guys, most guys are going to feel great when their trough day set is about 1,000. So, you know, those interplays, there's massaging that goes on, and there's other supplementation that plays in, but that's really where you guys want to be. I know that the lab values for women are set wrong. They're set wrong on purpose, but that's kind of where it is. Now, I get the argument all the time. I don't want to start something I have to continue for the rest of my life. That's the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, legitimately, it's like coming in and being like, "Hey, the front two tires are so bald that we can't even see tread. There's steel hanging out of the back of your back right tire. Your back left tire is okay." And you're like, "Well, if I have to replace these tires all the time, I'm just not going to do it." Well, yeah, there's certain things you have to do. So one of the main reasons that we don't have the testosterone we want to is our food supply is trash, which is why you have to supplement so much. So that's one piece. The other piece is that it's being artificially suppressed on purpose. The atrazine that we know is causing all sorts of endocrine dysfunctions is everywhere, and that suppresses testosterone function and makes you unhealthy, and it does all sorts of damage to your body. So just Google atrazine, and you can find that. The BPA, which is in everything, is causing all sorts of issues with this. There's soy in everything that you turn around. Soy lecithin is in everything. Soy is all over the place. And they're pushing really, really hard with all this plant-based stuff to get more and more soy into you. Soy is one of the most powerful phytoestrogens that you're going to find. And when we artificially jack with it, it becomes much, much, much stronger. Now, let me stop for a second and explain what that is. Estrogen and testosterone play off of each other. Higher estrogen usually suppresses testosterone function. So what ends up happening is when you get all these estrogen dominant things in that are activating the estrogen receptor sites, your estrogen function goes up, even though the estrogen in the blood stays low. And so that's kind of what happens. So for instance, same idea, nandrolone decanate, which is DECA, which is one of my favorite which is a synthetic drug that activates testosterone receptors. If you take a bunch of DECA and you pull for testosterone levels, even though you're having massive muscle growth and bone density function and stuff like that, your testosterone will still come back low. Because when you do a blood test, it only looks for exactly the chemical you ask it for, because we're using laser spectrometry for half this stuff. So it's only going to find the hormone you ask for specifically, not what will activate the estrogen or the testosterone receptor sites. You're saying, what is the exact amount of this specific chemical? And that's the problem. Because if you're able to say, give me all the chemicals that are activating my estrogen receptor sites, you'd have to look for all those chemicals independently, which you can, but it's a lot. And so that's the issue we're running into. We have a lot of activation of the estrogen receptor. We have, a very little things hitting the testosterone piece. So when we talk about, needing something, if your testosterone is low, you guys need to start supplementing it with it. I don't care who you use. At the end of the day, I have this big argument between pellets and creams and injections, and by far I'm a much bigger injection fan than anything else, but it doesn't matter. Just get it in. We can have the academic argument about which one is best later. Just get the testosterone in. It's amazing to me. People come in, well, I don't want to do it for the rest of my life. Yeah, you do. Trust me, you do. I don't want to have to take all the supplements I take, but I also want to feel fantastic. And it's a chemistry equation. So if I don't have enough of this chemical, I'm going to be sick. I'm going to have issues I don't want. Long term, I'm going to have problems. And so I take those chemicals so I don't have to have the problems long term, so I can feel the way I want to now and make sure my health is where it needs to be. So yeah. And the thing is that if you're at 300 as a guy, we push you to 1,000 for a month, a year, 5, 10 years. And then you said you want to get off, you can get off whenever you want to, but you're going to go back down to about where you were, and you're going to feel like hell. The example I always give everybody is, let's say you have a Toyota Corolla, and there's nothing wrong with Toyota Corollas. But so when your buddy goes out of town, and he's like, hey, would you drive my Ferrari for the rest of the month? I just want somebody to drive it so it doesn't have any issues. You're like, all right, cool. So you go from your Toyota Corolla to the Ferrari for a month. And then your friend comes back and goes, hey, I'm back in town, give me my Ferrari back. And so now you go back to the Toyota Corolla. Your Toyota Corolla hasn't changed at all. However, now you know the difference between driving a Ferrari and driving a Toyota Corolla. You're going to notice that difference and miss it. That's the biggest problem with testosterone, because you can get off whenever you want to and go back to the levels that you were at, but the quality of your life is going to be so much poorer that you're going to be unhappy with it. It's not that you were fine and then you broke yourself. That argument is for the 16 and 17-year-old kids, which I will tell you, I'm pulling tests on 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. It's all too low. Like we're talking depression, anxiety, all sorts of mental issues, get their testosterone up, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. There's a whole psychological argument about how that's transforming our young youth. And we can have that conversation whenever we want to, but that one's a big one. So if you're at 1,000 and you're 16 years old, and you go to 3,000, what ends up happening is your testicles go, oh, as a man, you go, oh, I guess I don't need to make this anymore. So they stop. And when you get off, they have to start producing again. So they're going to produce a lower level. What we also will see with that is that if you're 18 and you're 1,000 and you do testosterone or tren or deca or anything for a decade, and then you get off and your testosterone is 110, and you're like, oh, I've broken myself. Maybe. You know how many 30-year-olds I see who are between 100 and 300? It's the vast majority of them. So I don't think that it's necessarily breaking you. I think it's just over time with the chemicals we have and stress and stuff like that, you broke just like normal, but you didn't feel it because you were supplementing with the hormone your body actually needs. You have a physiological need for testosterone. It is not fake or unnatural or anything like that, adding it back in. Now, that's because that's what the receptor site wants. The DECA that I love and I take, I will grant you, is not natural. It was specifically designed to not convert into estrogen or DHT because it was designed for cancer and AIDS patients. And if they have, for instance, if you have breast cancer, you can't have any estrogen. So you don't want the testosterone to be natural because it will naturally convert into estrogen if you don't do anything with it. So that's kind of where it is. So there's a whole big piece of this. The thrust of it is that you cannot be healthy. You cannot have the quality of life you want. And you can't get where you're trying to go, especially if you're trying to lose fat, gain muscle, be healthy. You cannot do it without proper testosterone levels. So get out, get your testosterone levels. The only other thing I'll say, because women are going to watch this too, is that testosterone converts into estrogen. You don't need a lot of estrogen, especially if you're not trying to have a baby. If you're not trying to have a baby, you need as little estrogen as you can get. As long as you don't have hot flashes, night sweats, or vaginal dryness, you're fine. So remember, and there's a lot of women who come in with hot flashes, night sweats, and vaginal dryness. We will give them testosterone. Testosterone naturally converts into estrogen, and so their hot flashes, night sweats, and vaginal dryness go away. We don't have to give them the estrogen and the progesterone, which cause cancer. You guys do the research. When we talk about hormone therapy, the vast majority of the cancer that's actually caused is caused by giving people estrogen and progesterone when they don't need it. Estrogen and progesterone are fantastic. We use it all the time when we're trying to get a woman pregnant. But once she doesn't need to get pregnant or doesn't want to get pregnant, you don't need to use them nearly as much, or if at all. So keep that in mind. Stay healthy. Get your testosterone levels checked. Get your testosterone up. It is super, super, super awesome. I'm a bigger fan of injections than I am with pellets or creams. Pellets fall out. They have to be surgically inserted. They can do damage to the tissue, causes pocketing. They don't degrade normally over time for a lot of people. So you have way too much, then not nearly enough. And so, but I'm a very big constant hormone guy. So, again, just get it in. But if you're trying to figure out, the best of the options, look up anything I've talked about testosterone. I talk about this all the time, and you guys can hear all the lectures on that. So, if you have any questions, hit us up questions@chalmerswellness.com. If you guys need somebody to work with your testosterone, hit us up pillarsofwellness.com, and we'll be able to help you guys out. If you have any questions, like I said, questions@chalmerswellness.com. Thanks for your time.